Who would you sue?
The governor and
You'd sue the governor?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's my job to protect the people of Arizona.
That was Democratic Attorney General Kris Mayes last week, and indeed, she did sue the state and the governor after the budget Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs signed swept $115 million from an opioid legal settlement that Mayes oversees. A judge halted the sweep. A hearing will be held this week. Now, the beef between two of the state's top Democrats is just one of the takeaways from this year's budget drama that ended the legislative session. Joining us to discuss that and the other top takeaways are the dynamic duo behind the Arizona agenda, Nicole Ludden and Hank Stephenson. Welcome back to Square Off, and welcome to Square Off.
Thank you.
Good to see you both. Let's start with the Mayes-Hobbs battle. On the budget front, what's going on there? Because Katie Hobbs, people think Kris Mayes is flat out wrong on this.
Basically, the lawmakers and the governor have decided to sweep this opioid settlement money. This was a bunch of money that we got from the pharmaceutical companies for pushing opioids onto people in recent years. And that money has designated purposes. It can only be spent for certain things. The legislature took it to pay for prisons. What exactly they're paying for in prisons is kind of the point of contention here, because it can be used for certain, rehabilitation
drug-related matters.
But not to just backfill the Department of Corrections.
Although when you're sending them the money now, with a week left in the budget year, it must be backfilling something.
Yes, and we know that we need a lot of money for our prison system. It has been in shambles for a decade or more.
Is there more going on here politically between Kris Mayes and Katie Hobbs, two top Democrats? Will there be a primary for governor in 2026?
That's one of the big questions. I mean, it's no secret that there's bad blood between the two. It's kind of an open question of, is this because Hobbs is paranoid that Kris Mayes is coming after her? Is Kris Mayes really considering coming after her? There's a whole bunch of things happening behind the scenes here, and I think that is playing out. Maybe not the reason that she's filing this lawsuit, but the reason she's speaking so loudly and forcefully when she does it.
She was incredibly forceful when I spoke with her last week.
They must be out of their minds.
Out of their minds is what she said, yes. Nicole, let's go to you. Big budget deficit had to be dealt with. Were there any winners here, and who were the losers?
I think losers is kind of the key point here, since we are covering a massive budget deficit. Universities took a large brunt of the cuts. I mean, across all state agencies, there was about 3.5% budget cuts for all of them. But the Arizona Board of Regents, which oversees the state's public universities, was hit with nearly $30 million worth of cuts, which is more than half of all of those state agencies' cuts combined. That was a big chunk of those budget cuts, as well as WIFA, which is the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little later with Joanna Allhand.
I'll let Joanna handle it.
Okay, so you can't think of one winner?
I mean, there's a bunch of little pet projects that were sort of added in last minute through Kavanaugh amendment,
John Kavanaugh
to get some votes.
Getting votes.
I think prisons were kind of a winner in this thing. When you see universities getting cuts and prisons getting more money, it's surprising that this is a Democratic governor's budget.
This may be a little weedy, but are they getting more money, or were they just stuck with a real shortfall here?
They were stuck with, we have costs, court-mandated costs that we've got to cover with our prison healthcare system. So not only that sweep, but there was a couple of, semi-large appropriations to the Department of Corrections. A lot of that stuff because we've been shortchanging the Department of Corrections for so long that we have to do something. You remember the prison lock episode of a couple of years ago. It's just been a rolling disaster.
So you think this is catch-up money?
I think so, yeah.
Not just backfill money. For the second year in a row, the governor made a lot of noise about the rising unfunded cost of empowerment scholarship accounts, the school vouchers for sending kids to private schools with taxpayer dollars. Once again, not much was done. What happened with ESAs this session?
Yeah, that was a big talking point of this year's budget. I think Republicans are very happy, obviously, and Democrats very upset. At the beginning of the year, Governor Katie Hobbs presented a very rosy budget proposal with optimistic revenues and sort of an idea for scaling back school vouchers by limiting them to students who first attended public education, which a non-starter for Republicans. They just recently universally expanded vouchers, and that's kind of where things were left at.
So why can't Katie Hobbs deliver on ESAs for the second year in a row?
Well, I think the bigger question is, why does she keep telling people that she's going to deliver when she knows that she can't deliver? And it sets up these unrealistic expectations where at the end of the budget process, you have all these Democrats mad at her as if this was something she could have done. She can't do it because she doesn't have the votes in the legislature. You've got 29 Democrats in the House, 14 in the Senate. You can't find 2 Republicans to join with them to undo what they've done on vouchers. It's just never been a realistic scenario. And it's bizarre that she keeps telling people that she's going to do this. I mean, I realize we've got to make up a budget crunch, and a budget is a moral document showing what you would like to do as governor. But we had a real budget deficit, and her initial proposal was built off of pipe dreams.
Okay. Last thing. One big thing didn't get done. Prop 123 was not renewed. That got kicked into next year. What kind of battle is shaping up there?
Yeah, well, I mean, Republicans late last year sort of held this grandiose press conference saying we have this big plan to renew Prop 123, which is basically drawing money out of the state land trust to fund K-12 education. They want to use it for teacher raises. Hobbs rebutted with her own plan with a sort of higher draw, and even though Republicans sent a lot of ballot referrals this year, Prop 123 will not be, as you said, on our ballots in November. However, lawmakers can call a special session, maybe next session, maybe some sort of measure to make that election happen.
Expires next year, so I think we'll be talking about a $300 million cliff again for schools if this doesn't get renewed.
And we may have a Democratic legislature next year. Although this, unlike the ESAs, was not like an impossible pipe dream. This was something that had broad bipartisan support. They could have sent it to the ballot if they really cared this year. They just kind of dropped it off the priority list.
Got to end it there. Hank Stephenson, Nicole Ludden, thanks very much for joining us.